All right, so we went ahead and did our manual flight. We're going to go ahead and do our automated flight. In the app overview, basically, portion of this training, I set up a flight plan to come out here to this location and do. We only set waypoints, and there's a couple of other things we need to do now that the aircraft has been tested and ready to fly in an automated flight. So we have the switch. We're going to have to push that over to A for automated, and then click on the flight interface. From here, I'm going to pick my flight plan that I already had. That is test number 1. And it has populated with a name or with all of my waypoints I already set. One thing to note is that there are 2 positions on the map here, are flying up and ascending from 200 to 400, or 375 is what we set, and then descending from 375 and dropping down to 200. The locations of those are going to kind of depend on when we get out to the site. So we're out here at the site. We're going to edit these just a little bit so I can keep an eye on the aircraft. Wind also is a factor here when you're putting these in their locations. So if it is too close, you can see it doesn't have enough space. It will warn you. So you just want to make sure we are touching and moving those. I'm going to put these out in front of me just so I can see after completion that they are done. Let me remove number 5 there. Okay, once I'm good to go, I'm going to go ahead and save the mission plan up here on the left. We're going to replace this mission. And there's a quick check on the elevation to make sure it's good to go. I always double check my flight plan, make sure 200, 374s are working between each of the waypoints, coming back descending to 200. After that, I'm pretty much ready to go on a flight. I'll go ahead and get in position to do so and show you a couple more things on the screen and what I'm looking for when we're ready to do an automated flight. All right, as we, again, prepare for flight, we're going to check a number of things on my ground station here. We want to make sure percentage-wise is good to go for operations. Since this is a short flight, and I'd already mentioned, making sure everything's fully charged. Up along the top here, we have 90%, 46%, 35%. 35% is fairly low for the ground station. However, it will still operate to a low 20%. We get about 7.5 hours of operation of this. Since this flight is going to be a very quick one, we don't have much to worry about there. But the aircraft percentages, everything, just make sure everything's all fully charged, ready to go before any operation. I'm going to go ahead and hit fly, and we'll see what will happen here. So on the left side of the screen, I'm going to hit the takeoff. We can see confirm to complete this. We're going to go ahead and have another one of those pre-flight checks that the aircraft does. So we're going to hit next. We see mechanically that the aircraft is moving, double checking, pre-flight check, making sure it's safe to fly. Once it is, we get our pre-flight check is okay, and we're going to slide to take off. Here, just for safety reasons, I have the ability to go ahead and manually take over if needed, but I have to flip the switch over to manual to do so. We're going to let it go ahead and run its full flight, slide to take off, and watch the aircraft. Make sure the mission uploads and keep an eye on the aircraft during this operation. Some of the things to note on the screen and watching the aircraft as it goes through its transition is what direction it's going, making sure that it's maintaining the flight path that I preset and done. So we want to make sure that that's good to go. It did its transition at 200 feet as expected. It's making a right-hand turn, which it is right now, and entering into the circle in which it's going to ascend to 375 feet. From there, it's going to continue its waypoint flight, and we have the ability to open up the actual cameras and see what's going on with the camera. So I consider this to be the camera is just going for a flight. We're not doing anything to change the flight path. However, I do have camera controls I can do. I can go ahead and touch on the screen and look at anything during the flight. I can move my gimbal around, up and down, left and right. I can do that as well from my toggles and movements there. We can see the aircraft even as it's flying around. From here, once again, the camera's just going for a flight. That's all it's doing. I'm not changing any of the flight parameters. You can see that it hit a hard stop there and is resetting itself. If I touch on the screen, like I said, I can move the camera in any direction I want to go to observe and watch. And if I want to zoom on this wide camera, I can do that, zoom in and out with the toggle on the left or on the right, and then click to the zoom camera. I can take a look at there. During the flight, I'm always monitoring the bottom screen, so how high I am, distance away from myself. I can also slide to the left here and see a little bit more telemetry, ground speed, airspeed, distance from where I'm at. Since the flight plan isn't taking us any more than out of line of sight here, I should be able to observe the aircraft and watch, and my VO should be able to watch as well to make sure it's doing what exactly I had planned it to do. So after it gets done doing this mission, we'll go ahead and have it land, and then we'll walk through a little bit of the dynamic tracking on the next flight. So let me go ahead and do a return to home, and that is simply by pushing the return to home button here on the left. It will then enter into its descent circle. Abort the mission is currently where it's at. Come into the descent circle and come back and land. So let's go ahead and do that. Press and hold. And again, we want to observe the aircraft and make sure that it's actually doing what it's programmed to do, and enter back. Okay, so she's entered the descent circle. She's coming in and going to come in and actually make a transition here. So just again, anytime that we need to abort, we can come into manual. We can then take manual control of the aircraft if we absolutely need to. But here it comes to land, and we want to go ahead and let it figure out exactly where to come to as far as the landing position. And a good successful flight on an automated flight plan. So let's go ahead and take a look at dynamic tracking on this next one. We'll go ahead and set up another automated flight, change batteries, make sure everything is charged up, and do dynamic tracking.